Hello everyone, Ian XIlyana here, another day in Los Angeles. I know I'm having such issues with the internet, and I know that on some level you're a very private person and your privacy is more important than hopping online to talk about whatever it is you talk about. But here we are, and I'm going to continue talking about the environment and how we need to make some changes. I remarked for the past couple podcasts about this earthquake and how we are not changing. People die from this earthquake, and it's a tragedy. We cry about it, but maybe it's resiliency, or maybe it's just really good brainwashing, but people just get over it. They could have a dead body right next to them, and then they just go, yeah, but tomorrow I'm going to go into work. I can't understand it. I can't. And for those in California that maybe had a milder version of the earthquake, what do you think the future's going to be? Do you think the future is mild earthquakes, or maybe one earthquake that'll just devastate that city? But you don't want to move. You don't want to move. You don't want to change your architecture. You don't want to look at those skyscrapers and say, tear them down. They're not safe. We're not safe. That was an earthquake. We're not safe. But people in America, I can only really talk about America in this, because we're conditioned to be miserable. We're conditioned to chase money. And we're conditioned to be quiet little meat mice that never question and never speak up for yourself. I can't agree with that. I can't agree with taking a back seat when you're talking about earthquakes that can level the whole city. That's the time to speak up. That's the time to say, either I have to move or my city has to change. My country has to change. It took me forever to put together that petition, the one that's for farmer protection, the America Farmer Protection Act. And I have signatures. I do have signatures. People who have signed and said, I want that. But it's not enough signatures. And it's not something that's in front of the Senate right now. Mostly because I don't talk about it every day. So that's on me. But maybe America just doesn't see a need for it. Maybe America just is so busy with everything else that you can't see what's really important. I keep saying food is food, but food is health. And wealth is health. Wealth is rest. Wealth is a life without stress. My American Farmer Protection Act is a review. Go to these farms that are throughout America and just look and see how they're performing. Are they fiscal? Or are they struggling? And if they're struggling, what are they doing to struggle? What's their struggle? Because sometimes that struggle is, every year I have to spend $20,000 to $30,000 to cover all my acreage with herbicide. or I have to spend 20 to 30,000 on insecticide. I can't believe it. Every year, crickets, locusts, little caterpillars, mealyworms, they come and they attract more bugs, and those bugs are on my plants. And then the crop yield is just, it's ruined. It's absolutely ruined. Now I'm a farmer, so I will just try and explain what my American Farmer Protection Act is. It's options. It's the ability to go to these farms and say, you spend a lot of money on putting chemicals into your dirt. Have you ever considered the fact that you're just outside and that's just the way things are when you're outside? There are insects outside. Indoors, there's some insects too. But maybe you should grow indoors. And yeah, sometimes when you have something like carrots and they need like feet worth of roots, it's not that simple. But couldn't it be? The more I look into the situation of soil in America, the more I say, we need to scrape up every last inch of topsoil and chuck it or clean it. Because it's just been soaked and saturated with chemicals. You spray your insecticide all over the plants. You spray your insecticide all over the dirt. You grow, and maybe your yield is 100%. Great. What do you do with that soil? Do you just leave it there? Or do you say, oh, well, the next crop I plant, I'll have to spray all over again because it's been a year or whatever? You don't measure how much is still in there. And even if it's ineffective, it's still in the soil. It's still on your plants. It's still in our food. And that's the part that scares me because, yeah, you're supposed to wash your vegetables and fruit before you stick it in your mouth. You should wash nearly anything that you want to stick in your mouth. Or at least buy dinner first. Either way. What's the effect that it has on the human body? Does it have an effect on the human body? Maybe when you go to the FDA and you say, I'd like to sell my produce in America, and they say, okay, well, what chemicals do you use? And you say you use this chemical here, and they say, oh, that's a toxic chemical. We don't want that on our food. But how many parts per million, per billion? And that's how they stretch it out. That's how they trick you. How many parts per million, parts per billion is that chemical that we know to be a toxin? And if it's a certain number underneath their threshold, then guess what? You're allowed to sell. But then it is tainted. And you might be that 1 in a million or billion chance, but you're exposed to a toxic chemical. And your body responds by cancer. Your body responds by mutating because of it. When all you had to say is, if you have a locust-like event where all your crop is lost, guess what? You should be okay. You should be supported by America. All of America. This American Farmer Protection Act, I have to say, has to be some sort of tax because I need America's support on this. I need America to say, I want healthy food that doesn't give me cancer. I want healthy food that doesn't have chemicals in it. You want to eat a carrot, or do you want to eat the carrot that's soaked in lead, soaked in cadmium, soaked in God knows what? Chemical X, let's say. And it breaks my heart to live in this country where people, they just accept it. They're okay with it. And every other country does the same exact thing. I can't say America's the only one who thinks this way. But I live here, so I have to put more pressure on them. I have to say, this is important. This is a pivotal moment in our country where we could say, if we change the way we farm, we change our health. You know, I see St. Jude's, and a lot of parents, they get it in their heads of, why me? Why me? Why is my kid like that? I did everything right, everything. I went to church, I ate all the right foods, I did everything. Why is my kid sick right now? Some things are genetic, but then you still have to ask, well, what damaged the gene? What damaged the DNA that it was so misread that you get childhood cancer, childhood leukemia, you know, just rare blood disorders, all these things, allergies. There's something going on with the food. There's something going on with the water supply. The idea that we're addicted to putting beverages in plastic bubbles. It looks good, it sells so well. But deeper than that, microplastics enter into the liquid because most of the liquids are just caustic. No, I mean, they're not going to eat through your stomach lining right away, but what's a little bit of plastic to that? It's going to eat it, dissolve it, and then just have it floating around. You won't even be able to see it. It's so small, but your body will. Your body will know. Your body will become sick off of it because it's not supposed to have plastic in it. So here I am. I debated doing a video, but I said I can't leave here without saying I gave it everything. I gave every chance for America to change for the better, to look at failing farms across America and say, this is what you saw your parents do, what your grandparents did, and sure, it's not working right now, but what if you changed to a different crop? What if you changed your soil? What if you changed out of industrial strength fertilizers and pesticides to just natural things? Sometimes when the crops are being eaten, it's just an imbalance in the ecosystem. And that's indicative of something else that's a problem. But it's also the solution. So I guess my mind's made up. I tried for several years to help and save and protect this country, and I don't know, I feel like I'm in this fight alone. Sure, there are people who are out there, but they're not going to confront the issue head on. People talk about nutrition, they talk about a lot of it. They don't say, where is it grown? Who's responsible for growing the food that goes into your mouth? Don't they have a responsibility to make sure that it's safe to eat? Or is it more of a case of you're just a customer? So as long as the product sells, that's all that matters. It's not the retaining of the customer by keeping them alive, by treating them with enough dignity to say that their health matters to you as a business person. And some of these farms, they do care in a way, but when you have bills to pay, you put the blinders on and you become a bit ignorant. You take shortcuts. You don't care about the long-term results. You've got bills to pay, and that's something that America should say, no. If you truly cannot turn a buck as a farmer with all of the natural disasters and global warming and just migration of species, then America should back you. People talk about inflation and, what's holding up the dollar. What's holding up American food? What is it? Is it just a blind faith that people have where you pay them money and you say, this is safe to be put inside your body? Oh, I'm failing my English again. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm really stressed. I'm really stressed because when I leave, it's just going to be, well, there goes that person who started something and just felt discouraged and left. Did their own thing. But there's just so much abuse that you can take and how much suffering you can witness before you say, if I continue to stay here, if I continue to spend my dollars, I'm complicit in the destruction of American public health. And that's not something I want to do. In America, it's easy to go to the voting booth. It's a lot harder to vote with your dollars. And that's the only thing America understands. Vote with your dollar. If companies, if farms suddenly lost customers because you got all the facts, oh, this farm has heavy metals in it, do you still want to eat there? This farm has so much pollutants in its soil, it'll cause you to go bald, or it'll cause you to have reproductive problems. Do you still want to eat there? Because there's another farm that doesn't do that. But that's living in a world that I don't know. I don't know that world. When you leave your country because of an issue like this, you almost want to tell people, come with me or stand with me in this change. But it's too late for that. It's too late. I spend most of my podcast talking about my PTSD, my military sexual trauma, and reliving my traumatic event over and over and over and over again. Instead of going out there and making a difference. There was a part of me that said, stay one more month, but this time actually go to the city hall, go to the people and say, let's talk. Let's come to some agreements, disagreements, but at least talk about it. I just don't have it in me right now. I just don't. I feel so hurt and broken inside, and I'm just wallowing in misery, wallowing in my own pain, instead of healing that pain by engaging with people on my own terms. Yeah, I have a huge problem with random people coming up to me and trying to talk to me. But maybe a volunteer project is a way to say, we don't really have to talk, but we could be united on a certain issue. We can see the humanity in each other reflected in environmental projects or just basic civics. I mean, you really want to help your fellow person strengthen their dollars, strengthen your dollars. And the best way to strengthen your dollars is have better food. Have clear labels in the grocery. Explaining to people that what you buy is your vote. I'm tired, I'm exhausted. Normally, I would say I can do this all day, But even Captain America at some point said, no, I don't think I will. You spend all your time fighting that you don't say, well, if I have such a problem with the way that people run their farms, then why don't I start my own farm? Or why don't I unionize farmers so this way that there will be some farmer protection? You can lean on each other. And that's why I can't stay. You know, they tried to find me a house, but how can I stay in a house with neighbors that wouldn't fight for their right to eat food that wouldn't give them cancer? How can I stay with people who think that way? How can I stay in a country that is obsessed with cars? This weird, parasitic, mechanical machine, which is a redundant thing to say, but yeah, I'm terrible at words. But I am right about it. Cars are parasites. They feed off the earth by drilling for oil, which is destructive. And then shipping it is destructive. Using it is destructive. We don't see it that way. Cars are your best friend. It gets you to your favorite restaurant. It gets you to your friend's house. We don't see cars as the things that polluted the water, covered penguins in oil, seagulls in oil. Cars are the reason why some parents have to go to their kids' funeral, because they're driven by people who never should have been behind the wheel. And yeah, we could probably say, oh, well, that person was a drunk, or maybe that person just wasn't supposed to drive. Maybe that person would have been a different person if you just said, well, yeah, you're a drunk, but you're a drunk who walks. We have how many car fatalities, and we never think, oh, well, there's a common denominator of that four-wheeled monstrosity. So what is there left for me to do? Because I don't want to live in your cities. I don't want to live in your towns. I like the idea that in some countries they have places where you just say, there are no cars here. I mean, there's a footpath if you want to take it. There's a hiking trail. There's a lot of bush for you to go through, but there's no cars on the road because there is no road here. Now enjoy your fresh air. Enjoy that beautiful view. There's a sunset. Listen to the bird song. But there are no cars here. I want that. I want that for myself. And if anything, I would want that for my children. Now, I understand that even in the countries that do that, there's still places where they use cars. But the United Nations is not having that conversation, which they should, of going back to their citizens and say, what is it that you really want? What is it? Because if it's a higher paying job that doesn't require you to use a car, there's plenty of that. You don't have to pollute the goddamn earth just to go a mile across the fucking road. So it would make more sense to just ask people, what do you want? Because if it's something that you could walk to, you would actually benefit from walking. Your doctor is never going to say to you, yeah, you got high blood pressure. Did you sell your car? Oh, yeah, you're stressed about money. Did you sell your car yet? You're worried about your kids and, whether or not they're going to a party or something across the road. Did you sell your car? So they can't take it. Your doctor's never going to say that. Your doctor's just going to say, you're stressed, take a pill. You high blood pressure, take a pill. Change your diet. They're never going to say, have you tried walking and just letting your shoulders relax, listening, being present in the moment? Have you tried that? Have you tried walking and then realizing that you could stop and take a break, sit on a bench? You could turn a corner and then see an ice cream shop and stop there for a second, have a cone, have yourself a sundae on Sunday. And you could be a part of the world that you just drive by. That's the problem with local restaurants. You forget the fact that they're closer to you. You forget that these are neighbors that you live with, you live around, because you can drive past them, you can ignore them. No wonder why this town has a hard time keeping businesses here, because we just drive past them. Too busy. But if we walked, well, if you're hungry, then, you go where the food is. There's food right there. Now, some people would say that that would be a step backwards. I say no, that's the step forward. Because when we have the awakening, and a lot of people talk about the awakening, I almost want to join the whole Gaia thing as a presenter because I have so many ideas. But we talk about the awakening. We talk about this universal epiphany that transforms this globe, and it's being present in your own body, being aware of who you are, what you can do, what you want, and then how to get there. If I could give humanity one gift before leaving for the next galaxy, it would definitely be that. Self-awareness. The ability to eat any meal and say, you know what, I think that was good for me, or you know what, that isn't good for me. I don't need to eat that anymore. Or go to a job and say, I feel as if I want to stay, or I will respect myself enough to say, I want to leave. I want to pursue something else, or I want to start something else. But I don't have to stay here if I don't want to. If I do want to stay here, then I have the confidence to ask for a promotion, or just ask for more if you want more. Or if you want less, ask for less. But not day in, day out, same thing, same thing. Good or bad, same thing. It just doesn't serve people anything. Self-awareness is the gift that America needs right now. The ability to look at themselves around them and to be a part of this, or I want something else. 250th. It's a huge accomplishment in a way, but then it also reminds you of how we don't change, how something as simple as slavery never went away. It just changed its name. You can't look me in the eye and tell me that although they're not physically whipping people or stealing their children or making them work under the hot sun as they used to do during the times when slavery was fully legal, but then I look at now where this 250th celebrating country does steal your children. Says, oh, we have to give them an education, and you're really busy, so let us do that. Let us teach your kids what right and wrong is. Let us teach your children about sex, drugs, and basically how to sit down and shut the fuck up, because they're going to work in an office one day, and we don't want people who think for themselves there. So let us teach them that. Oh, and by the way, they may get shot from occasion. We have gun violence in our schools. That's slavery. You don't think of it as slavery because you still like to think of yourself as a free person. But how free are you that you give up the most precious thing that you'll ever have to a bunch of strangers to mold, manipulate, and in some cases, ruin? My favorite episode of, I think it was called My Strange Addiction, was the woman who was huffing paint, I believe. And, you know, I think it was like either My Strange Addiction or you're like, I think you need an intervention. Whatever. One of those TLC shows. But her parents were trying to confront her and everything. And she described huffing paint as it's like walking on sunshine. And it stuck with me. It's one of those quotes that you just say, I gotta remember this. Wow. But that's a fucking broken person. And you know why they're broken? It's because the American family has been shattered. It's been shattered. The father isn't home. The mother isn't home. Nobody's home. You get outside people inserted into that situation. And sometimes they don't have the greatest of intentions. And yet still you justify it with, well, somebody has to keep the lights on. Somebody has to pay the bills. But I think about that poor woman who's huffing paint and think, weren't you a child at some point? Weren't you something that was precious that should have been protected? But who could be there for you? Who could be there when we're so busy, so wrapped up in everything that there's no space? People love to fuck. They aren't equipped to be parents anymore. It's just too time consuming. So what do? You just shuffle that responsibility down the line. You shuffle that responsibility to your country and you say your country wants to have citizens. That's true. But maybe they don't want the best citizens. And that's a problem. The American Farm Protection Act it's a good one. It goes from farm to farm saying, you know, what do you need? Do you need alternatives to the chemicals that you use? Do you need better fertilizers? Do you need someone to check your pipes and make sure your water supply is clean, clear, and potable? Do you need different seeds? Or maybe do you just need to shift your business model altogether and say, I'm a solar farm, or I'm a data farm, I'm an AI farm? It's acres and acres and acres of land. And in some cases, it's still something that you could grow on, but in many cases, they should be condemning farms. They should go to some of these farms and say, no. But that doesn't mean that they have to lose money. That doesn't mean they have to be completely out of business. In fact, they could make more money if they just changed to something else. People talk about, I don't want an AI data center in my town. It's like, well, fine. AI data centers shouldn't really be in your town. They should be out in space. You already have a moon. Why don't you just build another one? For the size of an AI data farm and the amount of cooling and human personnel that you need there, just put it in space. That's what space is for. Space is for things that don't grow, don't require human intervention for the most part. An AI data center, it's you make a request, it answers it. It doesn't have to answer it directly on planet Earth. It can answer it in space. You probably get it there faster too. But America doesn't want to go in that direction. America is just confused. Confused. And so I'm going to cut through the confusion and just say, I disagree. I just disagree. I don't know if there's anything out there that I would agree with somewhere else. But maybe for a moment, there might be. Just a moment. And then I gotta come back all the way to civilization. But that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna be podcasting on and off all the way till I board the plane to leave America. And my heart breaks, but I just cannot see the mess I made of trying to help. You know, I clumsy PTSD survivor, but I couldn't reach out to people, I couldn't connect with people. I'm too damaged, and at a certain point you just have to say, please enjoy. Just enjoy it. There are places in Europe that have solar arrays that'll give free energy throughout the entire city. And America is, you still want to burn some coal, some coal, want to burn some wood. I mean, sure, there's enough energy from that nuclear explosion in the sky, but, you know, if you still want to send 10 to 20 guys into a mountain to scrape some black rocks off the walls, good for you. I just don't want to be part of that anymore. I don't. So I disagree, and I'm going to leave. I leave that petition there. If people still want to sign it, please do. And maybe one day I'll be back. Maybe. But for now, my name is Ian XIlyana. I'm an environmentalist. I'm a human rights activist. I'm a mutant. I'm a werewolf. It's a full moon. Oh. I'm a veteran with PTSD from military sexual trauma. I'm not getting any better. And part of it is I stay here. I don't leave. I don't set my own boundaries. I just wallow in this miserable situation where things don't change. And things should change. So I have to change. Travel the world and talk with the people. I hope to see you on the next podcast. The next couple podcasts are going to be going through all of this believing part. I can't obviously broadcast from everywhere, but I will document this because this in a way is history. It's my history. I want to chronicle the day I just I had enough. And it's not for a lack of support. I see that America is trying. I see America's trying to be nice today, trying to. I mean, I have to talk about how McDonald's has given the best customer service I've seen in a restaurant in a long, long time. And they are making changes to a more sustainable business practice. But where's the support for less cars, more families, being families, more time to work on your degree or just relax instead of stressing over money, stressing over bills when half of the bills that you pay could be free. I would like to see a McDonald's that is completely solar powered. In fact, if I wasn't so myopic, I would just donate some solar panels to the McDonald's so that I could get my meals cooked with little reliance on the public grid. But as I said, it's the small changes that should resonate with people, ripple with them. But you guys don't vibrate in that situation. You don't want to. You just like the idea that you're miserable all the time because that's safe and familiar in a way. It's safe to say that you go to a job that you hate. You can bitch and moan about it. Oh my God, I fucking hate that job. It's harder to say, yeah, but I had this idea and I wanted to go for it. And I still do. It's hard to say that, but sometimes you need to. I don't know why I just thought of that, putting solar panels on McDonald's. Huh. I mean, I guess I still have like a bit of time. Maybe I should reach out to McDonald's corporate and tell them that I would be a better customer if they did more for the local community by putting solar panels on top of their restaurant. Saving them money, adding to the wages that they could be giving the employees that they have, passing on the savings to customers, lowering the cost of food. Because you're not just buying the food there, you're buying the electricity that allows you to cook it. So if you had a solar panel, I have to think about this. That's really odd that I thought of that. I mean, I'm so ready to leave, but I mean, if I could get someone like McDonald's to change how they get their electricity, that would be a major thing. For the good of the city and the country, obviously. And passing on all that savings to the customers. Huh. I hope to see you on the next podcast.